Hello, this is Richard Pears from Finextra TV Unplugged, and I'm joined today by Duncan Grierson, who's the CEO and founder of Clim8. Hello there, how are you today?
I'm very well. How are you doing, Richard?
So have I pronounced that correctly? It's Clim8?
Clim8, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's around sort of the name, the logo, and the 8 is in the figure of an 8, which is the sort of infinity. So it's about recycling, resource efficiency.
Marvelous. Well, tell us, who are you, what's your journey, and a little bit about Clim8.
Okay, so my background is probably a little bit unusual for most fintechs. I'm coming from a sustainability background, so my passion is about making a difference on climate change and having an impact around sustainability. So I've spent the best part of 20 years building and investing into companies that are impacting climate change, and this new venture, Clim8, is something I started working on about a year ago. And essentially, what we're building is a platform to allow anybody to invest into companies in clean energy that is already having an impact on climate change. So this is not investing into startups; this is investing into listed companies and funds that are already making an impact with people's money.
I see. And so tell us, what stage are you at? Who are you targeting? What does the solution look like? Tell us a bit more.
Yeah, so I guess we're still relatively early. We raised a seed round at the end of last year. We're 11 people based in West London, and we are building a app which will launch in June. And that app will, as I try to explain, will allow anybody really to make an impact with their money. So this is what we're calling kind of a pure play platform. We're not using ESG filters. We are using our own methodologies to find stocks and funds that have the same kind of DNA as us, coming from a background of really wanting to make a difference on climate change, rather than using really sort of third-party filters and ESG type tools to use that as, frankly, as an excuse for marketing. We think there's who are not really doing what I think the underlying investors in those products think that they're putting their money into.
So I'm sitting here. I've got my money to spend. I go onto your, I'm sure, wonderful user interface, great new application, and I sit on there. And is it transparent to me then who I'm choosing, and I can really see the provenance of that organization? I can see the impact of my money and what outcome it's delivering, not just financially, but in terms of climate benefit. And if that is the case, how do you go about determining that those returns are happening both financially and in terms of impact?
Yeah, so we at the point of investment, we're providing curated portfolios. So depending on your risk appetite, you will be provided with a curated portfolio of companies and funds that we've diligenced and have passed through our kind of methodology. And those companies, as I said, these are not companies that might pass a sort of an S&G filter in certain funds. These are companies that their products and their services are actually making a difference on climate change. So these are companies, for example, an example would be Vestas. So Vestas, one of the leading wind turbine manufacturers in the world, global leader, that is the kind of company into which people's money will be invested, rather than, for example, a big tech stock, which, whilst some of the big tech players are beginning to buy in their energy through PPAs, power purchase agreements, from solar and wind developers, we don't think that's a green stock. So for us, that's not a green stock. So that might pass through an ESG filter of some managers, but that wouldn't be in our portfolio. We don't think that's good enough. We are providing a platform for you as an investor to make a difference on climate change, and we think that's really where we can make a difference by being, if you like, pure play.
Right. And do you track and trace this and kind of source these companies, as you've just nicely illustrated, in using technology in some way? Is there a sort of the classic big data machine learning thing going on, or is this human
So
beings,
we're building some of that, but essentially a lot of our methodology has been built up over years and are really about relationships and understanding in the market of which companies are already out there. And so we've got if you like, a universe of a few thousand companies which have been filtered down to a couple of hundred. So this will be quite a diversified portfolio of a couple of hundred different stocks. And each of those companies, like I said, is genuinely making a difference on climate change.
And on your, so you've got a great portfolio. You're building your application at the moment. I see you had your crowd funding exercise going on at the moment. What's the purpose of that? Is that to fund the operation of the company? How's that all going, and what's it all about?
Yeah, no, that's quite exciting. So we raised a seed round in November last year, and we're really adding to that. And we want to have a good pot of money to continue our growth. We've built a waiting list of 5,500 people who which I kind of would suggest that there's definitely appetite for this kind of product. And we are building to launch in June time. And the crowdfunding round it's partly about giving us a bigger balance sheet, but it's also about raising awareness of what we're doing. So getting the name out there and building that awareness in our community, so that when we launch, we can really make an impact by having more people. So the waiting list we're expecting to increase quite significantly in the next few weeks as we go through this crowdfunding round.
And what sort of assets under management do you expect to be looking after?
Yeah, good question. Look, I mean, that's finger on the air type stuff, but I think short term, it's unlikely we'll have very large assets under management the first year or two as we kind of build that trust and build that community. But over time, we'd like to think that once people have put perhaps a few £100s with us on our platform, in 2 or 3 years from now, if we can prove that we have really done a good job, it's been a delightful experience using our app, and I'm making a difference, then people will begin to put bigger sums of money onto our platform.
And I think people are sort of saying, there was a quote from one of the big players in the market. They've always known this was a values play, but now they see the value in the values play. Clearly, you've always had that point of view, I think. But what sort of returns can that investor be looking to? I mean, obviously, it depends on the risk appetite and the portfolio they pick out. But what's your kind of feeling for the person that loves their values but also is worried about their money?
About the value? No, really good question. So I think typically people over the years have thought that investing into the things that can do good don't necessarily have such great returns, but actually looking at some of the underlying stocks that will be in our portfolios, actually they have done very well. And we think that long term investing into sustainability broadly should provide actually outperforming returns, because if you think about it, there's a logic to it. As people move more towards products and services that are making a difference, having an impact, it seems pretty likely that those underlying companies will actually do very well as listed stocks. So we are hopeful that we can provide overperforming returns in time.
And do you think the current world that we're in actually is a wake-up call? It's a lot of people are talking about it this at the minute, that we'll need to think about greater long-term planning and look at our effects on the systems and flows of the world, and that plays back into investing. What's your kind of take on all this?
Yeah, no, super good question. Well, I guess we're hopeful again that this whole current situation, which is horrendous, will be a bit of a wake-up call. It could end up changing the zeitgeist, and we'll get people thinking more about these global crises, and actually climate change will be a much bigger crisis. And so we're hopeful that in a few months, when things begin to settle down again, that people will realize that we do need to make changes. We do need to be putting more money to work into companies that are having a positive impact, and we can all make a difference. I think that's been one of the positives of what's been going on the last few weeks, is that people are clearly helping each other, and I think that's been super wonderful to see that we can all get together and even in a small way make a difference. And so our hypothesis is, if lots of people put small amounts of money to work through a platform like ours, or indeed others, then we can genuinely make a difference on climate change.
Fantastic. Well, listen, it's been great to hear about it. Tell us where people can go to learn a bit more.
So a great place to go is go to crowdcube.com. We're raising money right now on that platform, and otherwise go to our website. So Clim8invest.com is our website, and you can sign up to the waiting list. As I said, we've got about 5,500 people on our wait list, and we'd love to get more people on that so that when we launch, we can have a big impact.
Wonderful. Will you come back and tell us a bit more on as you go through the milestones?
Love to do that, Richard.
Great stuff. Thanks for joining us today, and look forward to speaking to you again soon. Good luck with the program.
Thank you for your time, Richard.